Welcome to Latte with a Lawyer, a podcast dedicated to bringing you the stories of some of America's most successful lawyers, figuring out what makes them tick, how they creatively solve problems, and how others aspiring to be them can follow in their footsteps.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Latte with a Lawyer. I'm your host, Jonathan Brickman, and it's afternoon for both of us. This afternoon, we got Sevy Fisher from the Simon Law Group in Los Angeles. Nice to have you.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So the show is Latte with a Lawyer, so I got to ask you, what's your morning beverage of choice?
My morning drink beverage of choice is are we talking about after a rough night or just a normal morning?
Well, whatever you can, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to share.
I'm a coffee guy. Black coffee's good. After a rough night, I'm a weekend maybe like a red beer kind of guy. We call it red beer in Idaho, but out here in Southern California they call it a michelada. So
wait, so you got to educate me on that. What the heck is a red beer, and I don't even know, what does that mean?
A red beer is you usually want to go with like a light beer, like your Coors Light, your Bud Light, Corona, Modelo, whatever. And it's just a little splash of tomato juice. You can also use Clamato, some people use. You can also use just Bloody Mary mix. And you just give it a nice, little mixture. Not too heavy because no one wants to drink thick beer, but it gives it a nice little breakfast feel.
Oh, I get it. Okay, yeah. The hair of the dog that bit you, in other words.
Absolutely.
Okay,
got it. Yeah, right. most of the time it's just black coffee. So.
All right, good. I'm glad to hear that. Otherwise, we have another conversation we need to have with you.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that's interesting because I was going to ask you questions about Idaho because I'm imagining that the culture is not what you're describing. But maybe we can talk about that for a minute. So I see that's where you're from. I mean, in Idaho, I don't think that's not a heavy drinking, party culture, right?
No, not really. I was actually born and raised and baptized in the LDS church. So
I figured that's what I was gonna. Yeah. I didn't want to say that, but I kind of.
No, totally cool. I'm an open book, man. Half my extended family is still like practicing Mormons, and then I quickly just realized it wasn't for me, not my cup of tea. But still have a lot of good friends that are, and love them just the same.
How do you make that decision? It's interesting. And again, just based on my being on the planet for a while, I kind of figured that was the case. And you went to University of Utah. But how do you make the decision to leave the church? Because that's a big decision, right?
It is and it isn't. My parents weren't as strict LDS as maybe like my mom's sisters.
Okay.
And it's not like a decision you just wake up this morning and go, you know what, I'm leaving the church. It was kind of just something gradually. You just stop going, Nobody really gets on you, or I didn't have parents that were really, strict or gave me a lot of rules. I kind of did what I wanted growing up, for better or for worse. And, I felt too bound. I felt too handcuffed by a lot of rules. Everyone says, you only live once, enjoy it. Yet here's someone else trying to handcuff my life. And that's why I just felt like I didn't have the freedom to make the choices I wanted to make.
Got it.
Yeah.
But it's conditioning, I mean, for you to think outside of the box when there's so much conditioning to keep you in the box, whether it's Orthodox Judaism or, Sharia law, whatever it is, it's hard to think outside of that. That's what I find interesting.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, just like any religion, I'm sure there's a lot of judgmental people that, you get those eyebrow raises when you're not doing what conforms to what they want you to do. But I always say my religion is just being a good person. I think there's nothing better in life than just be a good person. Don't be an asshole.
Yeah,
that'll get you a long ways.
That's universal, right? I mean, that is the core of any religion, right? How you get there. There's a philosopher, Joseph Campbell, that said a hero with 1,000 faces. Mm-hmm. What he was saying is that, there's lots of paths to get there, but at the core, right, just be a good person. So that's a good segue into what you do, because your job is to help people, right?
Right.
So tell us about that, your practice, what you do.
Yeah, I do all catastrophic injury work. So I represent the injured or the a family member of somebody who died
Yeah.
against the insurance company, the defense industry. And, I would say 85% of our practice is primarily major spine injuries, whether it
Okay.
be, fusion surgeries from a automobile crash or a workplace injury that has some third party, negligence involved. Also, the rest of that 15% is kind of a combination. It could be wrongful death, traumatic brain injury, serious orthopedic injuries, other extremities, things like that. And obviously there's some overlap
Yeah.
between multiple too. So yeah, that's
Oh,
what I do.
okay, cool. But all catastrophic
Yep.
injuries.
Yep. And I'm one of the main trial lawyers at the firm. There's 5 of us who are sort of, we call us the trial team.
Yeah.
So I don't have a caseload or anything. I just basically take depositions and try cases.
Oh, I see. So in other words, people sort of do the intake and the pre-litigation. When it goes to trial, they hand it off to a team.
Right. Because and even once a complaint's filed, once a lawsuit's filed, there's a whole 2 years of discovery that you need to do. And we have managers and we work in teams at our firm. We have
Okay.
two lawyers try every case, and then before it even gets to trial, we have teams. Each team has a manager. I think we have like 4 or 5 teams. The manager also has a couple associates under them and paralegals and other legal staff that help them. So they get it in a nice place and work it up nicely to where we can come in and hopefully close the deal.
That's interesting. I mean, most law firms don't operate like that.
No, I would say, yeah, it's very rare, but we have a culture at our firm that we try to identify people's strengths and we try to really just let them, thrive on those. Some people don't want to try cases, and we're not going to make you. Not everybody can be a trial lawyer. Not everybody wants to be a trial lawyer, and not everybody has the personality to be one, you know?
Yeah. That's,
So,
I got to tell you what, that's really interesting. And I'm going to give you an analogy. So, in a sales organization, which is really kind of the role I played my whole life, it's the same thing. You break it down to roles, right? You have the
mhm,
marketing team, you have what they call the sales development rep that just engages and gets people interested. Then you have somebody that might, start the process and then close it, and then you hand it off to the account management team. In the old days, the way they used to do it, I get lots of gray here. You did everything, right? You prospected, you got the client, you brought them through a sales process, you closed them. And to your point, exactly, now in a modern sales organization, you break it down to these discrete functions that people are good at. So
yeah,
it's interesting to hear that you do that as a law firm.
yeah,
That's real
yeah.
interesting.
We do. It's actually interesting little piece about me though is I actually grew up in the car business, and my
Okay.
grandfather was a car dealer. My whole family just was in the car business, from sales to finance department to general manager, things like that. And he actually let me sell cars when I was 14 years
Nice.
old. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was in the summer times, I would sell used cars, and I found that it's not that dissimilar from what I do now, right? Like
Sure.
you're going into an atmosphere in front of a jury or a customer,
Yeah.
and they already have a stereotype about you that you're a sleazeball, and, to a
Yeah.
certain extent that they do. And, my job is to just be myself and, be honest and try to, part of it is just showing them that I'm not that stereotype. And
Yeah.
so, I really enjoy that aspect of it. I think, to be a good trial lawyer, you got to be yourself and you got to be genuine, because the moment you aren't, you're going to get spotted, right? And people are going to know.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is it about you that sort of makes you a good trial lawyer and you're on that team, the special team, the SWAT team?
I got the opportunity to try cases early. My bosses, Bob and Brad Simon, who are now my partners. I was a lawyer for 30 days when I tried my first case, and you just don't get that in our industry. And we're a big believers in taking chances in people, regardless of their experience level, and really letting them flourish. And he gave me that opportunity. And so I would say that gave me the groundwork to really, you got to be comfortable in there, and you got to learn all the stuff that is trial and the things that come up and the rules and the procedure and all that. So you need that foundation. But I think to really succeed in being a trial lawyer, you just got to be, kind of going back to what we were talking about, you got to be a good person, and you got to be good with people, and people have to like you, right? And I'd say a lot of the trial lawyers that I know have sort of that outgoing personality that, the people that you would love to just go like have a beer with and sit down and talk to.
Right.
Right. It's definitely not for the people that just like to sit in an office all day and sit behind a computer and maybe get a little anxious when they're, public speaking or whatnot.
Yeah.
But I enjoy meeting new people. I enjoy meeting new friends and creating a network. And I enjoy, I'm just a social guy. Like, I just love to take it, every event that comes up that allows me to go meet people and mingle with, you know, my colleagues is I'm taking advantage of those
Yeah.
opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can see it. I mean, you got a big personality. I can sense that immediately when I first start talking to you,
Yeah.
which is great. But I'm not sure. But again, let's go back to sales for a minute because, again, my experience is that it's all personalities can be good because really what it comes down to, and it's probably the same thing with being a good lawyer. You got to know how, you got to have to listen. You got to ask good questions. You got to draw out the other side. Right.
Right.
And so you can be introverted and be really good at that actually.
Right.
So but he, obviously, again, I was reading your background. I mean, the Simons saw something in you they liked, right? Immediately.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, good for you.
Well, and the thing about it is too that I think is really important is your confidence. Confidence is a huge factor in what we do, in just being a person in life and being successful in whatever industry, right? And I
Yes.
feel like in order to get that first bit of confidence, that kind of comes from outside of you, right? That comes from other people and the way they treat you, maybe a decision they make, like you're talking about, the Simons having their faith in me, that provided the confidence, right? And
Yep.
then I needed to go get a good result, right? That provided more confidence. And then from there, you're like, okay, anybody can get lucky. Can I go do it again?
Right.
Right. So you're just continuing to build that confidence. And with that, I mean, that just helps you even more, just continuing to, but ultimately someone's got to take a chance on you and say, you know what, I got faith in this guy. Because that's what instills confidence in ourselves is other people, sort of affirming that for you.
Yeah. So
Uh,
where do you think the confidence comes from? I mean, you're always confident as a kid growing up?
you know, uh, I would say, yeah, there wasn't something that I felt I couldn't do. I grew up playing competitive junior golf.
I was
And
going to ask you if you were an athlete. I sensed
yeah,
it,
I
yeah.
grew up playing competitive junior golf, and I feel like golf's the only sport where it all rests on your shoulders. You're responsible for your ups and downs. There's no team member to blame. So I think that helps provide that level of taking accountability and responsibility that it's me. It's all me.
Yeah, it's funny. I had another podcast with another guy but he was with what's the big law firm? Of course, I'm going to forget the name, but the biggest law firm in the world, I think. He was also raised in the LDS church, and he was a golfer,
Yeah,
competitive golfer. So, what is it about that?
I don't know, man. It's golf's do you play any golf?
I do. I mean, I'm not very good at it, but I play and I get a little bit better each time.
Well, it's interesting. A lot of people see it as just this sport where you got to go hit a ball, but there's a lot to it, right?
Oh
Like you got
yeah,
to, the hole. You're constantly setting yourself up for the next shot. There's strategy. There's things you have to take into account. The type of grass, the type of trees, the wind. You know,
yep.
the type of club. Your lie, everything you have to take angles. So it's a lot going on up here, and you really have to just try to simplify it, and it's a lot of strategy.
Yeah,
So
yeah. But I
maybe
was
that.
wondering, like, maybe there's some correlation between the LDS church and golf or something. I don't know.
I don't know about that, but
But I mean, listen, I always said that, they're the best salespeople in the world. I mean, you guys have to, yeah, you went out on a mission maybe,
I did
or you,
not
or you missed that part. Okay. But
miss that
like the
part. That
fact
happens.
that,
That happens when you're 19.
okay, but what better training really, right?
Right.
For the world and like than that. I mean, I think that's actually pretty cool,
Totally.
that whole process. Um, how many lawyers now are at the Simon Group?
I think we have about 20.
Oh, that's it. Oh, I thought it was a lot bigger. Okay, there's
Yeah,
20 lawyers.
we
Okay.
have about 20, and then we have about a staff of 60 or so, and then we have our Justice HQ, you know, which is a lot of solos that we all, you know, it's a collaboration.
I
And,
see.
you
Yeah.
know, so that within that, there's probably, you know, 200 plus.
Oh, I see. So from different law firms become part of this consortium.
Yep, they do. And we have like, you know, certain chats, and we all, you know, we have a lot of cool events like mentor power hours, things like that. We roundtable cases. If you need anything and you're just starting out as a solo, like somebody on here in the membership has got it. You need a
Yep.
motion, we got you. You know what I mean? It's a lot of that stuff. It really helps young lawyers and solo practitioners and even big lawyers, you know, move forward in their practice and succeed.
Got it. Who's your mentor? Do you have a mentor?
You know, I have a lot of people in our sort of industry that have helped me out, you know, along the way. But, you know, I got a lot of my training from Bob Simon. Um, I would say he's, you know, my mentor within the firm and within our practice of what we do. My mentor just in life in general was my grandfather, who passed away in 2013, I think.
Okay.
So he was my mentor growing up and everything like that. Always, you know, wanted to be like him. And but yeah, so
Oh, what was it about him? What was it about him? Yeah.
you know, he was just he was a poor guy at a young age in his low 20s, and literally had nothing but 5 kids, and you know, strapped his boots on and went and started working at a car dealer and eventually owned, you know, 3 or 4 of them.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So he just, you know, he always just helped me out. He was kind of a father figure to me, and, you know, just always helped me moving forward with advice, life advice, school advice, anything you could ask for. He was just, you know, I talked to him probably at least every other day from the time I was, you know, 15 to when he died.
That's great.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, no, listen, I think it's important to always have a mentor, someone you can look up to and learn from.
yeah.
That's super helpful.
Yeah.
Now that I get a lot of gray hair, I try to play that role
Yeah.
with
Well,
young
people,
guy.
you know, people need it, especially, you know, young people in any industry,
Yep,
especially in the lawyer field. You know, you just need it. You know, it's so important, and it means so much to young people when somebody who you see as this sort of like superhuman individual crushing it at their trade, you know, takes time out of their day to give you advice or talk to you or anything, you know.
yeah,
um yeah, it's really meaningful. And I think as the mentor, I don't think you fully understand it, what it means to these people. So I try to remember that. I try to remember people that did that for me, and hopefully I can, you know, provide that same value to others, you know, when they need it.
absolutely. I mean, listen, just doing this is going to be helpful to somebody listening, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, well, I hope so.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it will be. What was I going to say? So the whole firm just does catastrophic injuries. That is the practice of the whole firm.
Yeah, we're solely personal injury. We've thought about, you know, diversifying into other types of law and stuff, but we just have so much traffic that we just can't. I mean, we have so many of those types of cases, and keeping, you know, 20 lawyers and 60 staff members busy, you know, that we've kind of got our practice and what we specialize in. So
Yeah. So you must use you use expert witnesses, medical illustrations, all the devices
yep.
in the work. Yeah.
Oh yeah, animations. I did a deposition for trial this morning that will be played of our orthopedic doctor, and we had an animation of the surgery he did, and I had him walk us through it, and so it'll play while the jury's watching it.
Okay. Oh, wait, I think you use Maltus. Use Maltus?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah.
Know those guys.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, they're great.
Good. Thomas Neal.
Yep. I know Thomas.
There you go. All right. Little smile. So you guys must.
Yeah, he played my. I just started a
He
charity.
plays golf, right? He's a
Yeah,
golfer.
he played in my first charity golf tournament. So yeah, he's a big supporter.
Oh, good. Excellent. Good stuff. Um, so what other technology do you guys use in your practice?
Oh man, we're all paperless, so you know, we're doing all of our depositions via Zoom, which is awesome because, you know, we don't get paid per hour, we get paid perhaps, you know.
Yep.
So
Yep.
So we're it's nice to cut out that travel time, and I can go grab my kids from school. I can give my family more attention, things like that. We also we have a trial technician that we use for every trial. We cut up video clips. We try to show the jury as many pictures as possible, demonstrations, things like that. Just because we live in a time right now where people need information immediately. And
Yes.
the best way to get it to them is to show them graphics and cool demonstratives, and you know not read them text.
Exactly.
So,
So you're only in the courtroom
courtroom and depositions, yeah.
and depositions. So how many jury trials a year do you do?
I would say on average 6.
Okay.
Yeah, probably about 6.
And how long does it take to prepare for a trial?
I mean, it depends on the case. I would say truly prepare. You're thinking about it, you're dreaming about it, probably 4 weeks in advance.
Yeah.
When I come in, I'll come in about 4 to 6 weeks in advance to get my eyes on it, know that I'm seeing this one through. You spend a lot of time with the client in their homes, because that's where, you find a lot of the magical story, and you can tell their story effectively. So yeah, I'd say about that time frame. Sometimes you're limited though, because you may go from one trial into, one that you have 2 weeks later.
Yeah, yeah. But you only
So,
do one at a time. You only
right,
one at a time.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. So if you do 4 weeks, that makes sense. And that gets you through the year. Okay.
Yeah. And it's ebbs and flows, like during COVID, obviously we tried none.
Right.
So, but coming out, it seems like we're back to back. We're in 3 trials right now currently.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. In different, jurisdictions. So,
Okay.
yeah.
What's your, so you're a young guy. You haven't been doing it that long. What's your most memorable case you worked on?
I would say it was the case. I represented a 26-year-old guy who was on his bicycle and he got hit, and it was a small policy that the insurance company kind of messed up in tendering. So we believed it to be open. They also disputed liability. Our guy he was in violation of the vehicle code. He didn't have lights on his bike, any reflectors, or no helmet as well. Suffered a spinal injury that basically took away not a lot of, but partial function in all 4 limbs. He could still walk and still use his limbs, but like certain ones, like he couldn't like open his hand like this, for example. Like he'd have to shove a bottle in there and like hold on to it. That was the one hand. The other hand worked pretty good.
Yeah.
So that case, we ended up going to trial and getting a $15 million verdict.
Wow.
And then came the next lawsuit, because then we had to take the insurance company to a whole new separate litigation to see if they messed up and breached their duty to the insured in not paying within the policy limits, and therefore it was open and they're on the hook for that entire verdict. And we just won that last week. So they're now on the hook for about $17 million.
Wow. And what was it? So you went beyond the policy limit.
Right.
And how do you do that? How do you make the breach contract or something?
Yes, it's based in the duty of good faith and fair dealing, which is implied in all contracts, and they owe their insured that duty. And what that entails is, if we make a reasonable demand for the policy or something within the policy, and they make an unreasonable rejection or don't pay it, or they don't meet certain material conditions of our demand, that is in effect a counter offer or a rejection.
Okay.
And the court has to determine, the court and or jury determines whether or not they acted in bad faith and their decision to whatever they did was unreasonable, right? So that's what happened. And here we are. I mean, this verdict was 4 years ago. The incident was 4 years before that. We're 8 years post incident, and we're finally going to get to deliver this young guy, the best client ever, a fat check that he deserves.
Wow.
More than anything.
So that's interesting. How do you substantiate that they're dealing in bad faith? Because you could say that about most insurance companies, right? They always lowball the other side.
Yeah, but if you have the facts and you give them the information that shows that it's worth the policy and they mess it up, right? Then that's, it's a case by case basis. But
Sure.
one of the ways you prove that your demand was reasonable for the policy is showing, the likelihood that it would hit if it was a verdict would be worth in excess of that policy. Well, it's presumed, that element is presumed that it was in excess of the policy and the value of the case was more than the policy once you hit that first verdict. So that $15 million we blew the policy by, 14 some million.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So.
Oh, that's interesting. I haven't heard that. So I'm guessing that most plaintiff attorneys don't get there what you do and substantiate that.
It's a risky play. Sometimes, you're not just dealing with one, you're dealing with two, sort of litigation phases.
Yeah.
And they could still appeal and things like that. So a lot of attorneys won't take cases like that. But you just gotta vet it. You gotta read the facts. You gotta really review the demands, the rejections, the responses from the insurance companies, and decide whether it's worth taking a gamble on. It was a big gamble.
Yeah.
But it was.
What's the downside if you can't do that, if you can't prove that? What happens?
We lose all of our costs that we put into the case, which was to the tune of about $500,000.
Got it. Do you use litigation financing, or you fund it yourself?
We fund it ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you use focus groups, mock trials?
We do. We do some focus group stuff. I'd say the person we use the most is Harry Plotkin. Do you know the Plotkins? Harry and Claire Plotkin?
I've heard of them. I don't know them.
Yeah. Harry comes in and he's a jury consultant, and he also does like a very fast online like focus group, and I think he calls it a pinpoint analysis. So we do that. He always comes and picks a jury with me as a consultant, him or his wife, and really smart guy. Talk about being a specialist at your trade. I maybe picked 25 juries. He's picked thousands, because that's all he does is go from trial to trial and pick juries with people.
Sure.
So it's nice to have him there, and his expertise and his knowledge, and just reading people and what types of people, based on their responses, like how he predicts they may rule on certain issues.
Right. I mean, you win or die by the jury, right?
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
I would think that's the most critical part.
Yeah.
So, but you also got to figure out like what's going to resonate with them,
right?
The way you want it too, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, does he also help you with that?
A lot of that is just more so, your time with the client, right? And finding out that story, finding out why I want to fight for them and why I would, what hits my heartstring.
Yeah.
Right. Because if it does me, it's going to the jury. No doubt about it, unless they're just not human.
Yeah.
Right. So it's about finding that sort of human element along the way, and really, pushing that as your theme, and letting the jury see how great it is.
Got it. So I didn't ask this, but let me, as we sort of wind this down, I mean, how did you even make the decision to become a lawyer? Again, you grew up in, you selling cars and doing different stuff. I mean, how'd you make that decision?
Just sort of circling back to my mentor discussion with my grandfather, we were just sitting down one day, and he just said, what, I think you'd be a good lawyer. Why don't you pursue that? And the rest is kind of history. He just used to think that I, in being so close with somebody and having somebody like that, who is essentially a father figure, you can imagine we got in a few arguments and things like that. And I think just the way, it wasn't even necessarily that I was a good arguer. I just think he liked the way that my thought process worked, and he saw something there that told him, like, man, like, you should go do some litigation. And that's, I got on the track from then forward, and here we are.
Got it. You probably closed a lot of car sales too.
Yeah, I like to think. Yeah. I liked it, but it just wasn't for me.
Yeah, that's a tough way to make a living.
It really is.
Although I've heard someone said to me, "Oh, you should be a Mercedes-Benz salesman." I'm thinking, do they actually make a pretty good living? I don't know.
Well, back in the 80s and 90s, it was a great business to be
Yeah.
in. But, I think the profit margins were just a lot higher back then. But yeah, I think it sort of fizzled as time went by.
Yeah, exactly. You can just go to online and get a car delivered to you now. So
Right.
technology has eliminated a lot of the sort of the old jobs that used to exist.
Yep.
They're gone. They're not going to get rid of lawyers, though. I don't think anytime soon.
I hope not.
At least until you make some real money, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, this has been really fun. It's good to spend time with you. What just final words? What do you want to leave with the audience? What do you want them to know about you and your practice, and best way to connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that we are a law firm that's built on sharing. We don't hide our work product. We're more than happy to share anything. I'll always take a phone call, an email. My email is Sevy, SEVY @justiceteam.com. Always had people that would respond and give me the time of day. So always happy to do the same. And like I said, we're an open door. We'll give you whatever you want. Any motion. We don't protect any of our stuff. So yeah.
Good stuff. All right. Thank you. I really appreciate the time. Sevy Fisher from the Simon Law Group in beautiful Los Angeles.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Jonathan. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And this is sponsored by EmotionTrac, which is a legal tech platform that helps guys like you prepare for trial with our platform. So again, thanks a ton, Sevy. It's really fun.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Okay.